G'day and welcome. This is the Onside Kick, an NFL podcast brought to you by Fox Sports with a little Australian twist. I'm your host, Chris Janssen, and joining me, as always, my good friends Ted Smith. How are you?
Chris, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And Hugo McWilliam, how are you?
Chris, not bad. Thanks for having me again.
Hey, no problem. You've seemed to have locked in an active roster.
You're on the show, mate. What are you talking about?
You've made it into the playoffs and everything. Look at you.
We'd be lost.
I'm just being polite, but anyway.
Well, boys, we made it through the first week of playoffs. It was the Wildcard Weekend. We still are in this relatively new playoff system. We had a few games, the seconds versus sevenths, and in some ways, I was going to say it feels a little bit like we're just cutting the fat. Some of the teams that are there, same as this year and last year, it felt a bit like they were there purely to make up numbers. I'm talking a little bit, of course, about the Steelers and Philly. What do you think about this relatively new system? Do you think it's working? And did you like also the additional week that got added just before we jump into the games?
Well, it depends how you determine what working means. Like if you're talking about how much money the NFL made over the weekend, yeah, it's working. But in terms of competition, it's mild card weekend, super mild. Like most exciting game, probably 49ers Cowboys, and that was because neither quarterback wanted to win the game in the fourth quarter. So. But with that said, it's a massive money maker. You have a look at the other sports, NBA, NHL. Viewership is down across the board, not NFL. If they change this current playoff system again, it'll go the other way. They will introduce more teams and just have wildcard teams versus wildcard teams, and we'll be having this discussion forever.
Yeah, Ted, I think we'll completely agree with Ted. I think we're all on the same kind of point of view here. Do we like it, like the change? Not really. Is it going to change? No. The fact of the matter is that we saw this with the seventh place teams, the Steelers, and also the Eagles. They weren't a chance. Eagles got smashed by the Bucs. Steelers got. Although to be fair, the Steelers started well. But they got smashed by the Chiefs.
Not because of their quarterback.
Because
of their defense. And Oakland looked like, Las Vegas looked like they were outmatched by the Bengals. They made it tight in the end, but yeah, it's not a shame, but it's like, but with that said, like Rams Cardinals could have been a good game. 49ers Cowboys, even though it was a handy game, could have even been better on paper. And even that Bengals Raiders game, but there are some average teams when you do look at Philly, when you do look at the Steelers, who maybe had the worst quarterback in the NFL this season. So, it's done.
Just quickly, something Ted said beforehand is the NFL, the reason it's been so popular is every game's cutthroat. Everything, no matter what, you have to win that game, So the problem with the 7 teams and with the 18-week schedule is the fact that teams can, have a few down weeks and still make it. You look at the Bills, for example, who mid-season everyone was saying, they've lost 6 games right now. Can they make it? Well, they had time to kind of teeter in, and now they're going.
49ers turned their season around. Miami had a late dash at the playoffs.
Yeah,
I think
Eagles were 1-6.
It sounds like
3-6, I should say.
Sounds like we're agreeing that the extra week was fun. No one has a problem with that. Maybe the extra team in the playoffs is not necessary. For me, it's the closer you get to having a 50% chance of making the playoffs, i.e. 50% of the teams basically make it.
NRL.
Watering down the competition. Yeah. Obviously the teams that sneak in. And then you also feel bad. One of these years, a 7th place team that's bad will beat a 2nd place team on a bad day.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the way it will work, but you'll feel bad for the team. Anyway, let's move into some of these games, boys, because there were quite a lot of good results. And there were some fun games still in there, despite those matchups, I would say.
Despite everything we just said.
And anyway, we're moving into the fun now. This is the Divisional Round. The teams that come off bye are now ready to rumble, and that will be the first game we'll get to see our first chance at one of those teams. First game for Australians, Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Australian time. The Tennessee Titans at home to the Cincinnati Bengals. Titans obviously coming off that first round. Hugo's giving me the biggest smile ever for his boy Joey.
I'm just pumped. I'm just pumped.
But the Titans come off that bye. The Bengals, though, made it through the Raiders. I thought this was probably one of the best matchups of the week. The Raiders really made a game of it.
Yeah.
We had the whistle TD. We had the Bengals winning their first playoff game in 31 years. And we also had that thrilling final drive where it literally came down to 4th and goal with the last few
Yeah.
seconds.
Can I say, just before we were saying Bengals Raiders was a blowout, that was a great game.
I didn't say it was a blowout. I said the Bengals looked a lot better than the Raiders.
Better, but it's been the Raiders this year where everyone, with 3 weeks ago, everyone was like, oh, the Raiders still in contention. Yes, they are in contention.
Well, not anymore, but...
Yeah, not anymore. But Derek Carr had
great season.
One of the best under-the-radar seasons ever, considering everything that happened in that season. We don't need to go into it. Gruden, Henry Ruggs, etc., etc. Can I just say, on the whistle TD... have I ever seen a bigger blow-up? And I know you're going to disagree. I can feel it, so you can disagree. But can I say, have there ever been a bigger blow-up, much ado about nothing? It was literally, so he was inbounds, no doubt about it. Tyler Boyd about to catch the touchdown. The ball's literally here, not going into his chest, and the whistle goes. You're not going to blow that dead. And it was common sense, good old common sense, not making sure that play wasn't redone, and the fact they gave it the touchdown. Some takes you're seeing on Twitter, I think it was Skip Bayless.
Ones that are focusing on the rules of the game.
Oh, yeah, see, I knew this was coming.
I don't care. Like, I understand what you're saying. It's just that, like, some rules, they're tracked to the letter of the law. But if a whistle goes during the play, you meant to replay the play, even if the team looked like they were definitely going to score. That does not matter.
But it has to be within reason, though. The fact of the matter is,
you say it has to be like that is the rule, except it's not. No, but, if a whistle goes during the play is replayed. There's no grey.
The fact of the matter is, you can never win. The common sense has to prevail. And you know what annoys me as well?
Common sense is subjective, though. Some people would say common sense is following the letter to the law.
No, but what annoys me, though, is the fact that players get to stuff up whenever and recover. You see like quarterbacks scrambling the wrong way or get sacked for 15 yards, and they get the chance to redeem themselves in the next play. The refs are held to such a high... I know that, and they should be, but in that situation where it was just a pure mistake, the whistle goes, but it didn't affect the play at all.
The least surprising thing of all team, Hugo, big ref guy.
No, I'm actually not a big ref guy. I'm actually...
Guys, I like this discussion, and I think I can appreciate both sides of this. I think you're right in the sense that I agree from a neutral perspective that common sense prevailed, it seemed like, and they made the decision that was probably going to happen. I agree with the fact that it seemed like there was not much chance of anything else going to happen on that play. The fact, though, that the whistle was blown, it was just one of those like, oh, no.
Yeah, just don't do that.
Yeah. I thought, to be fair, I thought he threw it. The ball had just left his hand for me, and then the whistle went. But
he knew exactly what he was doing.
But that's still only a half a second, and the DBs were nowhere near Tyler Boyd. He was going to catch that.
Inbounds. It was a great catch, great touchdown. Unfortunately, the whistle went.
Yeah.
Come from
the bigger issue than the whistle and them screwing up the play was the fact that he thought he was out when he was right there on top of the play. He shouldn't have blown his whistle in the first place. The fact that they didn't redo the play or whatever is after that point immaterial.
He literally imagined him being out.
Yeah, he couldn't believe that Swaggy B would make a play like that, which is disappointing. Anyway, let's get into some other important things of this. We just talked about him, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. This connection continues to look brilliant. Chase had 139 all-purpose yards. That connection is just still lightning. The Bengals winning that first playoff game in 31 years. How good is this for Cincinnati?
You can't speak highly enough of the effort and how big of a deal it is for the city of Cincinnati because they like their football there. And 31 years, like, I'm the only one that was alive the last time the Bengals won a playoff in this room. So that's crazy. And you look at Matt Stafford. He's been a really good quarterback for a crummy franchise, not the Rams, the Lions, obviously, for 12 years, and he'd never won a playoff game. He couldn't turn the tide. He couldn't change the history of the Lions. And Joe Burrow's done that for the Bengals in 2 years. And what did he say in the presser? Sweet. Yeah, I knew.
Yeah, been there before mentality.
And that's smart, man, because he's telling the locker room, it's like, this is the expectation.
Yeah,
like absolutely. It is not a big deal, us winning in Wildcard Weekend, my Wildcard Weekend.
And not just Cincinnati, I'm going to say it was a big achievement for Ohio, because the other team is obviously Cleveland, who haven't had much success recently either, and Joey B, obviously growing up in Ohio, native too. So it's a nice story for the Buckeye State.
Yeah, you mentioned before Burrow and Chase. It's going to be interesting, this match against Tennessee. Tennessee, while their defense has been good, their secondary is ranked 25th in the league for total defense. So basically, the yards, they're giving up a lot of yards, especially through the air. Watch out for Burrow. Watch out for Chase. Watch out for Higgins. It is going to be, that's where the game's going to be won and lost. If they can stop those three, it'll basically be Titans. If they can't, watch out for the Bengals.
Yeah. Then, game kicks off, Bengals to Titans, and Hunter Henry has the ball for 17 minutes.
Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry.
Here we go again.
Deshaun Watson.
We got on quick this time.
Thanks, mate. See?
Is Derrick Henry back? Is that confirmed?
Derrick Henry's back.
What version is unknown, but if you can get him at 90 or 95%, you've got to be feeling good if you're the Titans.
Yep.
Yeah. AJ Brown's back as well.
And Julio Jones
is looking
he played okay last week.
What do we think of this game? Let's get into this game properly. What are your tips for this game? How do you see this stacking up between these two teams? We haven't seen the Titans now in a couple of weeks. Is this a case of them coming into the wrong time, like getting a week off at the wrong time to match up with a hot Bengals team?
I wouldn't say so. I think this is one of the few teams who will benefit from a week off. The fact that you can get all your
they use the most players ever this season,
right?
So it's incredible what Vrabel has done really with the Titans. You think it's 3 straight playoff appearances.
Who are you picking though?
Who am I picking? Bengals.
Yeah.
What are you picking?
Oh, okay.
I really like the Bengals. If I was picking an NFL team to support now, it would be the Bengals.
Right.
But I'm a Rams fan. But with that said, everyone's been doubting the Titans all year. I'm just not gonna. They've just earned the right for me to be like, yeah, okay, I'll pick you. I don't know why you're first in the AFC when you look at how talented some of those teams are. But that's the thing, that they rock up, they compete every week. They're big where they need to be big, offensive line, defensive line. And like I said before, if Hunter Henry is the best running back in the universe on this weekend, they're a chance. They're a big chance.
Yeah. I don't want to be this guy because I think they had an incredible season. Like we said, they had so many injuries, but it does help having the Jags and the Texans in your division. hence why they are that number 1 seed.
Was it the Jags or the Texans beat the Titans, I think?
In 1 week.
Texans beat the Titans. So did the Jets.
3 from 4.
So did the Jets. Anyway, what will be interesting is the fact that last year, Titans-Ravens, everyone was expecting the Titans to smash them in the playoffs. Vrabel, it's quite an amazing stat because when they made the AFC Championship 2 seasons ago, they won all their games on the road. He still hasn't won a home playoff game. Can he break that hoodoo here?
Well, he didn't get the chance that year, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, well,
like if they were all on the road.
No, that's what I'm saying. We lost the Ravens last year.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean that's
at home.
Look, there's no shame losing to Lamar Jackson, but yeah. And Harbour.
But then, so what I'm interested here, look, I'm going to say this, whatever happens, whoever wins out of this game will lose the AFC Championship game next week because I just think the Chiefs and the Bills are far too good.
Yeah.
So they're playing me second anyway. But
yeah, you're really putting it on the line there.
Yeah, Bengals to win.
All right, well, just on that topic, with the picks, we are doing the picks the whole way through the playoffs.
Yeah.
And last week we kicked it off. Myself and Ted, perfect round. Hugo, 5 from 6.
5 from 6.
You really wanted your Patriots. That's okay. They let you down.
That's what it came down to then.
But we'll continue it. It'll be a rolling thing throughout the week. I think we decided loser will buy dinner or something like that.
Nudie run.
Nudie run, that's right.
Nude dinner, that's right.
Nude podcasts for Super Bowl. Looks like the tying vote comes down to me. This could be a big one come the end of the tips. I like Tennessee at home, but it's hard to go past the Bengals. No, I'm going to stick with my gut. I love Derrick Henry too much. I have to be loyal to him. So I'm going to lock in Tennessee as well. I think Bengals played their final last week, played their Super Bowl last week. And it was an impressive enough performance for their fans to take something about that for the rest of for the future. Let's move into the next game, which is also on Sunday. It is the 12:15 slot, and it is the Packers at home in Wisconsin in Green Bay against the San Francisco 49ers. The Packers as well, another team coming, should be hopefully nice and fresh off the bye, getting a few troops back too, and a few troops that we'll see for the first time in a couple of weeks after they rested. And on the other side of the football will be the San Francisco 49ers, who, as we mentioned, played in probably the game of the week, I think we're all happy to say. Before we get into the final drive fiasco, I'm sure that'll take up most of the chat around this game. We can talk a few little tidbits, which was Debo continues to look amazing. We're all loving him.
It's incredible.
Jimmy G has this incredible knack for somehow, and much the same as when they made the Super Bowl 2 seasons ago, has this incredible knack for somehow, even though it looks like he's playing awfully, will do just enough or one correct play at the right moment to scrape his team over the line. I'm giving him the NFL Tight Butthole Award. I think I haven't seen anyone else who's as effective at doing that. What did we think of this, boys, before we get into that final drive shenanigans?
Yeah. Jimmy G, he wins a lot of football games. He's been to a Super Bowl. He earns tens of millions of dollars, but a couple of times a game, he will look like me out there, and I'm nowhere near ready for the NFL.
What?
It's just that he's similar to Carson Wentz. His bad throws are some of the worst throws in the NFL. They look unprofessional almost. Other quarterbacks have watched it and put their head in their hands, I feel. He's that kind of player. The player most likely to cue the Curb Your Enthusiasm music. But with that said, because of players like Deebo Samuel, Ayuk had a good back end of the season. He was pretty quiet on Sunday.
Eli Mitchell had a big game. Yeah,
very good. Again, he had a good game again. Obviously, that defensive front is good. Their linebackers are elite. And their coach, he is a genius. I just think he lacks poise in the fourth sometimes. They should have put that game to bed. It wasn't just on Jimmy G. And yeah, one side note on that game, the ill discipline. Yeah, I thought whatever team makes it through, because 49ers gave away some vital penalties late as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it undid Dallas. If 49ers do that again throughout the playoffs, it could undo them as well.
I think, Hugo, I'd like to hear your thoughts now on this final drive. What this situation, we had was it the right decision? Because basically, I'll set the scene. The fact that San Francisco had given up so many quick little out routes.
Yeah.
And then they finally placed the men, the safeties and the corners on the sideline to protect that. So I understand the logic of trying the quarterback keeper up the middle. 14 seconds for me, that's quick. That's quick to run a play and to run a spike, especially when it looked like, I think, Dak took it too far. He got to about where he needed to, and he would have had enough time.
And he placed the ball, which he should have handed to the center. That's the center's job. And Alex Smith, I'll let you go on it in a second, Hugo. Alex Smith said exactly what you just said there in terms of how long was left on the clock. He was like, every quarterback knows it's 16 seconds. That's how much time you need where you can definitely
to get it
spike
away.
the ball. But
Hugo?
Look, if it pays off, he's a genius, because they would have had one last throw, I think from the 21 or 22. Didn't pay off, and it didn't pay off pretty spectacularly. The fact of the matter is that drive was pretty incredible so far. Especially that first little play where CeeDee Lamb then lateraled it.
A little NRL play.
Yeah, we've always wondered why teams haven't done that more. But just for a great 38-second, 40-second drive to then end that in such flames. Dak can throw it from the 40 as well. He can definitely get it to the end zone.
And he would have had two shots instead of none.
Two shots. Yeah, true.
I talked about this at length with a few people, and I think the understanding is it's risky to take two shots from 40 or from 35, right? If the first one gets picked off, then it's only one play anyway. You know what I mean? But
they ended the game with doing shoulder shrugs.
Yeah. It's difficult to have any kind of comparison when it ended the way that it did, right? It's hard to say what is right and wrong because we only have this total catastrophe to go off.
Before we move on to the Packers 49ers game, one last thing I'll say about this was the press conferences after it. How there is no accountability in Dallas.
Yeah.
Blaming everyone else but themselves, mate. It's not cool, and it's beneath Dak. But I'm not surprised McCarthy took that route.
Yeah. I thought his answer in particular was the fact that he just sat there and was like, "No, that was the right decision."
Yeah, and then he was like, "Yeah, you should throw stuff at the referees."
Yeah,
Did you hear that bit?
Yeah, that's inexcusable.
Yeah.
Hopefully a big fine coming his way for something like that.
He apologised.
It looked like, for me, on the topic of coaching, that the Cowboys were underprepared. It looked like they got
many penalties.
They got taken advantage of in certain situations. The other thing I want to get onto on terms of the Cowboys is Zeke's superstar period over.
Yeah, he is a good running back.
Is he a good running back, or is he a serviceable running back?
Well, he is a good running back, like 4.5 yards per carry, double-digit touchdowns. Good.
We said this last week. He's been good, not spectacular. He hasn't been in the top echelon this year. And
he's so far away from Hunter Henry and a fit.
Derrick Henry.
Oh my God, who is Hunter? Oh, the tight end. He's so far away from Derrick Henry that it's not funny.
Yeah.
And the other one as well, CD Lamb. Everyone was expecting him to have this huge season this year. Last 6 weeks, I know he's been carrying injury, has not been spectacular. And it's showed really since that Washington game where, Amari Cooper, everyone, he definitely is second fiddle behind CD Lamb. Amari Cooper the last 6 weeks has been the guy who's been...
And his numbers haven't been
great either. And Dallas is meant to be this explosive offense. I know it doesn't help Michael Gallup getting injured as well, but
whoop-de-doo, everyone's good.
We deserve a bit of kudos, by the way, all three of us, because on the pod last week we all picked San Francisco and we said that Dallas will get found out.
Yeah.
And they did.
Well, I don't know. No one else will give us kudos.
So thank you. The only other individual performance we have to talk about is Mitch Wishnowsky. He is the final Australian left in the playoffs after Philly went down to Tampa. And he had a pretty good game. 4 punts, 179 yards, 45-yard average, one inside 20.
His last punt in the fourth.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. The moment that punt happened, I was thinking this would be great for the pod.
Yeah.
Let's get it inside 20, stop it on the one.
The thing was,
Touchback.
I'm not sure. You can't really account for the bounce. The fact was he landed it on the 2-yard line, and the two gunners, one of them got held up with the other with the receiver, and the other one was in the wrong area. Neither of them looked at the ball. So, he placed it probably slightly incorrectly, but it was on the 2, which is where it's supposed to be. And if that gunner had have got around his man and stood there and marked it on his chest, we'd have all been like, great moment.
If there's an award for a podcast most likely to defend an NFL punter,
This one.
Hey, leave special teams alone. All right, boys, that was another fantastic match. How do they now, after this big win, the 49ers, face up against the Packers? Is there a chance in hell?
It's going to be difficult. So you just look at the injuries. You got Fred Warner, ankle injury. Jimmy Garoppolo's got a shoulder and a hand injury. It's going to be freezing in Green Bay. It's going to be freezing. It's not a good day to be coming back from injury. Nick Bosa on concussion protocol as well. Nick Bosa is just an incredible player. It's going to be really difficult. You go up against the Packers as well, who have such basically a fit and healthy squad. Other than Aaron Rodgers' COVID toe, you've got David Bakhtiari, who's back, huge for the offensive line. J.R. Alexander's meant to be back in the secondary. Their defense has been pretty good already. You get J.R. Alexander back, who's arguably, I know you're going to disagree, Ted, arguably one of the best corners in the league.
Of course he's one of them. I thought if you said he is the best, I would have disagreed.
I was going to, but I saw you a little looking around.
I was locked and loaded, bro. A couple of names.
Yeah, ready to go. This is, it's going to be, especially up in Lambeau as well. Big crowd, cold day.
I'm joking, dude. Of course, it's Lambeau. It's going to be hard to beat Aaron Rodgers in the Grand Final. It'll actually be easy if Jimmy G doesn't throw a pick. 6-0 in games he hasn't thrown an interception. So the formula's there. The thing is, he played quite a few more games than 6 this season.
Yeah.
So if he only has to throw one pick, and their chances of winning decrease dramatically in terms of percentages. But if he doesn't throw a pick, if they can control the clock with their running game, which has basically just gotten stronger and stronger as the year went on, especially when you're sprinkling a bit of Debo. So the formula's there. It's like, Green Bay, best team in the NFC, two years in a row. They had the bye. That's correct, right? Yeah. But with that, But with that said, the Packers, really good team, but we haven't watched them light it up this season.
The Packers?
The Packers. No, they've won a bunch of close games. They've played the 49ers this year. They won 30-28, and that's when the 49ers were average.
I'm going to disagree. They're one of the teams. So from that first game, they absolutely smashed on the Saints. They're one of the teams who've just improved the whole
I've seen
way through.
I've seen their winning percentage, man. I know how many wins they've got, but in terms of like, look what Pat Mahomes did on the weekend. He scored 5 touchdowns in 10 game minutes. Like, we haven't seen Aaron Rodgers light it up and be like, oh, that's right. He's not, besides the numbers, besides the wins, he looks like the best quarterback in the NFL. He looks like the smartest quarterback in the NFL, the most poised, but he hasn't torched teams like some of his opponents have done down the stretch.
You don't need to do that in the playoffs, though.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's what you see from, Rodgers. You see it from Brady now as well. As they get older, I feel like they don't need those big games.
For sure, yeah.
Like it was Mahomes. Mahomes always seems to have that chip in his shoulder. Josh Allen, we saw that. We'll get to that later. I can't wait till we get to that. He's got that chip in his shoulder where he has to have that big game. Rodgers is happy to throw for 150 yards and hand it off 50 times if he has to win a game.
All right, boys, give me 2 tips for this game. What are you both saying? Do either of you, after that chat, actually give the 49ers
Packers
a chance?
to win it. It's going to be over by halftime.
Oof.
It's going to be over at halftime.
There's the big game you're talking about, Ted. It's coming this week.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, Packers wins versus the Vikings, the Browns, the Ravens, the Bears, the Seahawks, the Bears again, obviously Washington. These are all teams that they beat that didn't make the playoffs. I think there's a chance they get a rude surprise when they play a team that is playing, besides the injuries, that's unfortunate, but a team that's ready to go, got nothing to lose. And like, Aaron Rodgers always makes the playoffs, but since that Super Bowl has never made it out of the NFC. It's like, how will it happen this year? Will it be a San Francisco upset? I'm saying it will. Jimmy G doesn't throw an interception and the 49ers have the biggest upset of the division round of playoffs.
That's the thing I'm looking forward to the most is Packers making the NFC Championship.
And losing.
Failing again. It'll happen, but not this week.
About 6 weeks ago, I remember we had a little, or 7 or 8 even, we had a little who's maybe going to push. And at that point, the Niners were looking bad. And I came out and said, I think they're going to actually push and make it all the way to the NFC Championship. Then the next week, they lost to someone terrible.
Seahawks.
And everyone laughed at me. And now they're all the way back here.
Yeah.
Oh, so difficult, this one for me. The only reason I'm going to go with Green Bay is because of home field advantage and because of condition advantage.
8-0 this season at home.
Green Bay?
Yeah. Which means they're due. Only only team that was undefeated throughout the regular season at home.
I think it'll be a thriller though.
It makes sense to pick the Packers. I just like this 49ers team.
Hey, well, this is good. It'll give us a chance to see if we can even it up.
This is a repeat of the 2019-20 NFC Championship as well. Niners beat Packers at the Super Bowl. Just quickly, what we're saying about Packers failing an NFC Championship game. I feel like they know inside the Packers that everyone is expecting them to fail, and they're kind of a bit bristled by it as well.
Yeah, well, they know why we think
them. Yeah,
they were there
because they do. Yeah, they do.
All right, boys, let's get into the Monday slate of games. The first of which is 7 a.m. I'm guessing there must be a few playoff changes for the games. They're giving us even better times in Australia, which is good. 7 a.m. is...
I've been exhausted for 16 weeks.
Remember when we were getting up at 3 a.m.? Oh, Jesus. Yeah. We made it to 5 a.m. and it was glorious. Now we got 7. Anyway, the Bucs at home in Tampa Bay to the Los Angeles Rams. For me, this is the matchup of the week. I think this one has the most chance. 49ers and Green Bay I like as well, to be fair. But I think this one has the most superstar power in it. I think both sides of the ball for both teams, fantastic. The Bucs, of course, coming off the big win over the Eagles, where it was effectively over by halftime. The score looks good for the Eagles, basically, I think. Yeah. Brady, just a commanding performance with his buddies Evans and Gronk. Gronk obviously popping up for a playoff touchdown. What's new? The big shutout for me was the Eagles' run game got shut down. And that was basically what they were relying on. Only had 95 total yards. Yeah. Jordan Mailata bows out. He had a relatively impressive performance, but they couldn't get that run game going.
Yeah, Punter had a shocker.
Yes, if I was getting...
He had a bad end of the season. Bucs, Rams. This could be a cracker. It was a pretty good game. They played, I think, round 3, round 4. Rams won. Rams beat the Bucs last year when they played as well. And historically, the Bucs have found the Rams as a bit of a bogey team since 2012. Rams have won 7 out of 8 games. Just one of those weird things. because, no one lost to St. Louis all the time except for the Buccaneers, apparently. But you hit the nail on the head, man, Stars. Tom Brady, Matt Stafford coming off his best game as a Ram, Aaron Donald in form, Von Miller in form.
Return to form.
Jalen Ramsey will always be Jalen Ramsey. And I like that we didn't go to Cooper Kupp 2 out of every 3 plays,
Yep.
which is what we did throughout the regular season. It opened it up for Higbee, Odell Beckham Jr., exactly. Hugo had his best game as a Ram. So, yeah, and then, sorry, mate, to bring it back to the Bucs, you look at the injuries they picked up through in the Philly game.
Yeah, Tristan Wirfs.
Exactly, who's in the chat for one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL.
Yeah.
And, like, Tom Brady doesn't want anything to do with Aaron Donald or Von Miller.
Yeah.
So it's like people were saying that, or the callers were saying that Brady was getting the ball out super quick versus Philly because he had the injury to the O-line. I think it was in preparation for this week because that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to get the ball out quick.
Yep.
It's compounded now, of course, with those injuries. And obviously you still got Godwin out. Your Lenny Fournette might not play. So, yeah, I don't want to get too excited, but I am. Let's go Rams.
Talk to me before we get into that about the Rams coming off the cards.
Yeah, that was the most dominant playoff win the Rams have had since I've been a fan. But I didn't even get that too excited about it. You boys have heard me mention the McVay versus Cardinals record since he got there. It's now 10-1. I'm just so used to McVay not being worried about the Cardinals, and it's just spread. So, yeah, great win, but it's really hard to gauge because over the last 6 weeks, the Cardinals have been one of the worst teams in the NFL. And little Cliff Kingsbury stat, I did say he was going to get sacked. 16-43 after the 7th game of the season. That's college and the pros. 16-43. He got fired from college, fell up, and he's doing the exact same thing that got him sacked. Made the playoffs for the first time in a few years, but I do not know if he'll see preseason.
So he's a first half of the season performer, you reckon?
Well, 16-43, mate. What do you reckon? There's something to it, right?
Yeah.
That's not a fluke. I think, he prepares well through the off-season. Oppositions prepare for him. He does not make adjustments, and he always loses at the back end.
Hugo, thoughts quickly on the Rams cards, but yeah, we can move past it a little quickly and then into the matchup.
Sorry, boys.
All I'll say is Kingsbury's not on the hot seat. They still had a season. They just
I'll let him know, mate.
They fell off.
Hugo said you're safe, Cliff.
They fell off at the end. They had Hopkins out.
3 years in a row.
Hopkins out. Look, I think at least 1 more year, 2 more years. He's a young coach. They brought him in. They brought him in to help out Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's been injured, that's for sure. Mobility's not there right now. We saw what Kyler could do at the start of the season anyway.
Okay, he's there to help Kyler Murray. Do you know what he said in the press conference before the game?
What?
He said, I think Kyler Murray is going to have the best game of his career. Kyler Murray obviously did not need that pressure because he had his worst game of his career.
I'll do a quick quarterback comparison on that because that was the difference in this game. Stafford only threw the ball 17 times.
Fewest in his career.
Thank you. Statman Ted on the Rams games for sure. But for 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. On the other side, Kyler, the pick 6, obviously, but 137 yards, 19 of 34, 0 touchdowns, 2 picks. Not good enough.
It comes down to who your receivers are, though. That's the thing. You got Rondale Moore, who's just not ready yet. I think he's going to be amazing eventually. You got Christian Kirk, who's not. He's good player, not an elite wide receiver. Wesley scored a touchdown. You got AJ Green, who's past it.
Yeah. But when D-Hop was there, those other wide receivers were getting a lot of praise. Moore was, and then it's like as soon as they start struggling, it's like,
there's a reason for that, Ted. Now, the fact of the matter is, when you've got your best receiver there, it takes up that cornerback.
Yeah, but all I'm saying
they're not letting him step into that one role where these guys in the 2-3, they can do that bit. The moment you have to step up. That's like saying, like, I know. So luckily, not every team can lose Robert Woods and they get OBJ. They didn't do that. That's the thing. it would have been the same thing. The Rams were lucky because they got that replacement straight away when the injury happened.
Kyler Murray's pick six was hilarious.
Yeah, it was hilarious. That was bad.
And the only other thing I wanted to say on that game was Cam Akers recovering from a Achilles injury in 6 months is one of the most impressive injury return stories I've heard. To come back as a running back as well and take hits, incredible. Let's move into Brady and the
Just quickly.
We've talked too much about the Rams and Cards.
Good Australian connection here. Cam Akers ruptures his Achilles in the preseason. Everyone says he's not going to come back 12 months out, makes it to the playoffs. Newcastle Knights, Jaden Brayley ruptured his Achilles last week. Don't be surprised if the Knights make the finals if Jaden Brayley comes back. This is a sign, and the Knights should be looking at this. Anyway,
Hugo's trashed me all episode because he knew he could get me back on his good side with that. Me being a massive Knights fan, thank you, Hugo. Shattered with that injury though.
On the topic of the Bucs now, moving into this game, I did see this stat which I really love, which was that Brady is older than all of the other remaining NFC head coaches.
Yeah, amazing.
Brady, a starting quarterback, is older than the remaining, every single one of them. I'm going to get straight into tips because I think we've talked about these guys a lot now. For me, I actually think the Rams will win, but I know I will be furious with myself when Brady ultimately somehow wins. So I just cannot back against him. I've learned that throughout my life. I'm locking in Tampa Bay.
That's why Hugo picked the Pats last week. It was Bill Belichick. Just saying. Look, I need the Rams to win just so I can finally prove that we're in a simulation. If you remember back one of our earliest episodes.
Yep.
One of the great takes.
Yet to be seen, but here we go. We've just measured up well against them this year and last year when we played, and given Tampa's injuries and the current Rams trajectory, been good for 6 weeks, just that one loss to the 49ers. So,
Hugo?
go Rams.
Bucs as well.
Bucs, I think the Rams were amazing last week. We've seen lots this season. Couple good games, couple bad games. And I think we'll see
Bucs
that
lost
in
9-0 to the
Tampa.
Saints.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a couple of bad games.
They had a lot out then.
Hey, let's move into the final game of the weekend then, which is
the game of the week.
Which is, what is supposed to be the AFC Championship every year for the next 7 years, I think. So Chiefs versus Bills at 10:30 Eastern Australian time. Chiefs at home in Kansas City. Chiefs coming off big 42-21 win over the Steelers. I don't think we need to get too much into that other than to say, first and foremost, that it's goodbye to Big Ben. What an incredible career he's had. He's done a lot for football and especially for the city of Pittsburgh. The fact that he dragged that team, well, not dragged, but the fact that he won 2 Super Bowls in Pittsburgh, huge. I think he's heading to Canton.
Yeah.
I hope we can agree on that.
Definitely heading.
Just where you stand on him, blah, blah.
Yeah, on the field, Ken.
Yeah.
Say no more, fam. This was an absolute pasting. Mahomes put in one of his best performances of the season, 400-plus yards, 5 touchdowns, only 1 pick. And Kelsey even threw a touchdown as well. They didn't need to run the ball as much. They just threw it and threw it and threw it. On the other side of that, the Bills made it in. As we said, the Patriots are, in fact, a bunch of frauds. They got absolutely waxed.
You're giving us too much credit. This was all you.
You called it.
Yeah.
You called it, Chris.
But one man who wasn't a fraud in this game was Josh Allen. One of the best playoff performances of his career, already in a pretty decorated playoff career at his age, I'm going to say. 21 of 25, only threw the ball 25 times, but had 300 yards and 5 touchdowns in the snow.
That was incredible. The fact of the matter is it was a perfect game. And you're not meant to use perfect because what is perfect? That was perfect. That every drive they had went to a touchdown until they had to kneel it down at the end.
Yeah.
They were phenomenal in freezing conditions. We said before, and I have to admit this is where I went down. I saw in the wind of Buffalo how the Patriots dominated them mid-season. There was they saw that, they learnt from it, and they seriously said, you give us that, we're going to smash you by 40 in the playoffs. And they absolutely romped the Patriots. Yeah. It wasn't even a contest. Now, the reason I'm so excited about this game is you got the amazing high-powered offense of the Bills. They're going to throw and throw and throw against the same for the Chiefs. If all goes well, and I hope it does, we're going to get this to be 90-point game. 47, 45 or whatever. It's literally what it can be. If both quarterbacks say, stuff it, we're just going to throw and throw and throw, it could be an incredible contest.
Yeah. The first quarter will determine if this is going to be a skyrocket of a score. But easily the two best quarterbacks from Wildcard Weekend.
Yep.
Mahomes and Josh. It's crazy that Mahomes wasn't the best quarterback from the weekend.
Yeah. Even though more yards and another touchdown. Oh,
but as Hugo said, like, what else can you do but score every time you get the ball?
Yeah, and in the snow and off a better completion percentage.
Well, it was a bit of a dog act by the Bills playing the Pats on rookie mode. That's what it looked like. The Bills, I think, you said there's going to be a lot of passing, but these two running games are sneaky, two of the best improved running games over the last back quarter of the season. And there's so much receiving talent on the Bills team that the Chiefs won't be able to stack the box. And if Singletary, who, if we're being honest, me and Hugo don't really rate, but he's had a pretty good month. And if he continues that good month, he could be playing against some really, really small boxes. So, yeah, there could be a bit more running than basically we want, just given the current form of these two teams. But, yeah, it's so good that these two teams are playing, because it happens quite often where the two best teams on the same side of the playoffs won't play each other. But yeah, this time they are, and like Hugo said at the top of the podcast, the winner of this has got to be short odds to get to the Super Bowl.
Yep. Just on the Chiefs running game, which Ted mentioned before, it is amazing because it's not Clyde Edwards-Helaire we're speaking about. It's Jerick McKinnon and it's Darrell Williams. So it's basically, it's this running back room.
It's coaching as well,
and it's McCole Hardman, right, and Byron Pringle coming in for these jet sweeps and things as well.
And Mahomes too, man. He can run.
Yeah.
Forget that.
He's good for at least one big first down a game.
Yeah, little.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the things I was impressed with the Bills. As can Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Man, he looked quick in that first quarter.
He can do more than run, dude.
Yeah.
He is a transformer out there. He's just like, mate.
He's fast. He's so deceptively fast.
Massive. And no one wanted to sign him at college. So what the hell happened there?
Here's a great question.
Go on.
Whoever wins this, Mahomes or Josh Allen, do they take the mantle as the best quarterback in the league right now?
You still got to go, Paddy.
Yeah, I think so too.
No matter what?
I think currently, at the moment, based off pedigree, if Josh Allen goes on to win the Super Bowl this year, he's got more of a case.
That's what I was going to say. If Josh Allen beats Pat Mahomes on the weekend, only one of them still got a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah.
So and Mahomes
2 appearances.
Yeah, and 3 AFC Championship appearances in a row.
Yeah. Well, does he get 4? Here we go, boys. Tips. Who are we actually coming to say can somehow? I'm going to let you two pick first, just so I can listen to make my own judgment.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard. It's like, why would you pick against Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes in the playoffs? It's like, well, because I watched the Bills on the weekend, and Josh Allen is a beast.
Yeah,
throw it, run it, throw it out, and still throw a touchdown. That Tyler Knox catch was unbelievable. I've got
Dawson Knox.
Oh, mate, I'm just going to stop saying first names.
Yeah, just
Knox, the tight end,
Mister.
Yeah, cheers, boys. I think the Bills, mate, the Bills will win, but I'm about as confident as
Wait, who picked the Chiefs or the Bills?
I'm picking the Bills.
I'm picking the Bills. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because
I'm saying I shouldn't pick against Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes, but I am.
Here we are.
Well, I could pick every game but this one, so I was going to say that I was going to pick exactly the same as who Ted picked, but I just can't pick the Bills. So I'm going Chiefs.
No, you just can't pick the same as me. That's what it is.
Yeah, I can't pick the Bills. I'm going Chiefs.
It's in Arrowhead, right?
Yeah.
Is that the difference? Big, loud stadium down in Kansas, long trip for the Bills. Probably slightly warmer than they're expecting, although it'll still be freezing in Kansas City this time of year. For me, boys, agreed. I've got 0% confidence in this pick, whichever way I go, which I still haven't decided. I'm looking down now. They were just so impressive. They were both so impressive.
Yeah, I mean, 5 touchdowns in 10 minutes. Pat Mahomes, 10 minutes-ish, is no one's ever done that before.
10 touchdowns between them in a wild card playoff game.
And it's like, okay, now you guys play each other.
700 yards.
Perfect.
It's definitely the game of the week. This one.
I think I've been doing this a little bit sneakily and haven't been mentioning it, but a lot of my picks have been home field advantage, so I'll stick with that. I will say that, again, I think they are building this dynasty, and it's so sad for the Bills that they seem to be the bridesmaid in this situation so consistently in the AFC, because they're such a great team and they're so fun. But the Chiefs just seem to have a touch more firepower. Actually, I'm pulling the switcheroo on the hooter. Bills defense, I think, will be the difference in this game.
Do you need another minute? Need another minute?
If we do, I'll change again. I'm locking in the Bills. I think. Yes, we have. All right,
Josh.
We've got to the end of all of the games, boys.
The good thing is this week we've got a few
you thought we got to the end. Oh, hang tight. Go.
The good thing is we've got a few different picks this time around, whereas last week it was just that Bills-Pats game.
This one, it could be really even, or there could be
I'm
distance
worried.
between us.
I think I'm such a bad tipster no matter what. I always second guess myself.
Well, ultimately, I did come through for the Bills, I think, because I looked at Singletary in capital letters. Here's my boy. I'm going to keep riding with him. There is something so lovable about a 5'8", 45-kilo running back.
Yeah. I can't believe you picked the Bills because of Singletary.
And the defense. Anyway, gents, a lot of good games on this week. I hope we get some time to watch it. I hope the audience is going to enjoy those games too, and they'll be back next week to be able to listen to all of our hot takes and hopefully a few more tips. We'll see how we go this week. Thanks for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you, boys.
Ta-da.